I have always been a huge nerd for note-taking. Yes, I know. It's very sad. Every time you turn around though, there's something new and shiny, some way that I can newly track my thoughts. It excites me. I have tried everything. I have been a bullet journaler, I've designed my own planner, I've used Notion templates, and just regular paper and pen. One day I was talking to a dear friend of mine and former client, fabulous note-taking journaling YouTuber Matt Ragland, and he recommended a book by Sanka Arons, and it is called How to Take Smart Notes. And oh, the notes I took from this book about notes. So many notes there would be. This book completely changed my perspective about what it means to take effective notes so that what you are making a note of, you're more likely to comprehend, understand, and remember. This has led me to stop with all the nonsense and the productivity for productivity's sake crap of trying different note-taking tactics, because what I have learned works so well. This advice has allowed me to be so much more productive. It gets me in the zone to be much more creative. And it all comes down to just one rule for useful note-taking. Hey guys, before we get started, let's take a few moments to thank the sponsor of this episode, and that's our friends at HP. If you've been following along with me for a little while, you know I'm in the middle of writing my third book, 365 Days of Good Morning, Good Life. And the timing could not have worked out better, as HP has just unveiled a new line of premium accessories focused on connectivity, customization, and sustainability, including my favorite, the 975 dual mode wireless keyboard, which has become my go-to writing companion. This is basically the Rolls-Royce of keyboards, let me tell you. It comes with built-in smart features and customization that gives you a better typing experience. And trust me, when you're sitting down typing for hours, you want that experience to be creme de la creme. It also has smart sensors built into it that adjust the backlit keys based on the lighting that is around you. This is perfect for those early morning editing sessions or the late night additions that I have to put into the manuscript. And one tiny little detail that makes a huge difference is the rechargeable battery, which has 6 months of battery life. Amazing. When you are doing your best work on your devices, you cannot sacrifice in the areas that it makes the most difference. And my keyboard and my mouse, those things I have to choose very carefully so that I stay productive when I am seated at the computer to get work done. And even when I'm not at my desk, when I'm traveling, I still need my wonderful accessories. And that's when I throw my fancy HP Prelude Pro recycled backpack with my favorite accessories in it, my laptop, on the back of my husband so that he can help me get to where I'm going with all the things I need. It's fitted with lockable zippers so everything's super secure, and it's made of 65% recycled fabric, so you can feel good about this timeless design. Check out the link in the description down below to find out more details about the HP 975 dual mode wireless keyboard and the Prelude Pro recycled backpack. And thanks again to HP for sponsoring this episode. The experts all agree we must externalize our ideas through the form of writing. And the reason we need this rule is simple. Productivity for productivity's sake is dead. We can't keep going down these productivity rabbit holes and not getting anything done. Let me ask you a question, and please share your thoughts with me in the comments below. When you take notes, how often do you actually remember what you wrote? It really depends on your approach, right? Let's say you're in school and the professor says something and you decide to copy it down verbatim. What's the matter with that? You're just trying to make sure you get it down exactly right, and so you replicate it. Sometimes we do this in the same way if we're reading on Kindle. If we see a big section that we're like, this is gold, I don't want to ever forget this, we'll highlight the entire section. So instead of just something short and snappy, it's a whole paragraph, because we want to be able to remember it and refer back to it. Well, in the book, Arons says that we need to stop trying to copy things verbatim when we are making notes. It's easy to do that because we're trying to make those notes in a hurry sometimes, especially if you're handwriting, that's a little bit of a challenge. You want to get as much down as you can possibly remember, but then you're taking notes in terms of how good your memory is, not necessarily for comprehension. And it's even worse when we're typing notes. When you're typing notes, you're very fast. It's much more likely that you can type exactly what you heard or what you saw. But when we are trying to take notes so that we remember them and so that we learn from them, they really shouldn't be exactly what was delivered to us. It should be what we interpreted from that interaction. So the rule for useful note-taking is really simple, and it's to make fleeting notes. A fleeting note is basically just anything that comes to mind or anything really, really fast, even a single word that you want to put down. It's sort of like the anchor for the memory of what you're going through at that moment. You want to be able to take these fleeting notes really quickly, really easily, and have a designated place for them so that you know exactly where they are when you need to go back to them, and get them out of your head as soon as possible. The reason why fleeting notes matter is because the faster you get them out of your head, the sooner you'll be able to understand it and build upon it. You've got this one word on paper, you've got this quick little phrase or this little thought that you had, and now this is an opportunity to leverage those notes. As soon as you can be sort of like done with the experience, let's say it's after the class or after a meeting, going back to those notes and immediately interpreting them so that they're more than one word is really important, because that's when the information is super fresh in your mind and you're actually going to be able to work through some things with it. Not just, okay, here's what I understood and here's what happened, but more ideas that might populate in the moment now that you're sort of simmering on it. A page of fleeting notes is going to be pretty useless to you unless you interpreted them in the moment that they inspired you. Because again, it's just maybe a word or a random thought, and you can't remember why you were inspired by it or why you might want to remember it later. That interpretation process is so important. But once you have gone through that process of sort of fleshing them out into your own smart notes, then they become that kindle to the fire that could result in a lot bigger ideas evolving. So we really want to get into the habit of taking fleeting notes so we can use them to our advantage. One example could be you're gonna go have a coffee meeting with someone. And so you'll have a notebook there and you're not going to spend a lot of time looking at it and taking notes. That would be rude. You're having coffee with someone. But let's say they inspire an idea, you write it down, or they refer you to a great book and you write it down. That's amazing, really useful. But what's key is after that coffee meeting is over, the person will usually leave the coffee shop and I will stay there and I'll refer back to what I wrote down and do a little bit more of a deep dive of what just happened. I'll probably add some things I never wrote down because I knew I'd remember them, like what's going on with their family and to check in with them later because they're going through a tough time, or to flesh out the idea that they gave me from the one word I wrote, and just do more of a recap of what that meeting was about and what to do, especially next steps. This is so much easier than,
oh yeah, I had lunch with Susie a few weeks back. What did she say she's up to these days? I wonder who I could be referring her business. I can't remember.
And that could have all been in your notes, and that could have been something that you documented really well so that when you do follow up, you have super relevant information, which by the way is very impressive because everyone thinks everyone forgets everything, which is mostly true. Another example of fleeting notes, if you don't have your pen and paper, for me, when I take walks outside, I don't have a pen and paper, but I get a lot of ideas on my walks. So some of my fleeting notes are actually voice memos. I have a quick tap on my Apple Watch that I can do a voice memo, or I'll pull out my phone and just start talking about something that's occurring to me. It doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out idea, but it is my own idea usually, so it's pretty easy to talk through. So there are other ways to do fleeting notes, but it's just more about knowing yourself and the self-awareness of what should I not do so that I don't get distracted and forget what I'm thinking about. The other reason I really loved the advice in this book is that it said fleeting notes need to be discarded, which is great because I love a declutter, okay? So rip that page out of the notebook once you've looked at the fleeting notes, interpreted them in a place where you can keep everything, and move on. A couple of options that I recommend for where to keep your permanent notes, the notes that happen after you've interpreted a fleeting note is one being Rome research. This is another recommendation from Matt, actually. Rome research has become my golden place for ideas and written content and even Kindle highlights. I'm using a tool that will send Kindle highlights into my Rome research, so anything that I want to be able to refer back to, I can. This is such a great place to build upon content ideas and build upon project ideas, just because if I keep all of my permanent notes there together, I can look for common searches, common keywords, and bring them all together into a final product of some kind. And then of course there's Apple Notes on your phone. Sometimes this is just going to be a good place for you because it's on all your devices. So once I've written a fleeting note down, I sometimes will go into Apple Notes and make a note of something more permanent and say, oh, I just came up with a podcast idea. Outline it in Apple Notes and then deliver the podcast just by reviewing what I wrote there. And of course, pen and paper. If you are the pen and paper type, I totally get that. I have a planner for that reason, because sometimes writing things down goes ingrained into your brain much more permanently. And so that's of course an option. Just make sure you're taking a fleeting note and turning it into something more permanent that you can leverage for the future. So the key process here, get into the habit of making fleeting notes in the moment. And as soon as you can afterward, interpret them into something more permanent and then discard your fleeting notes. This is the key rule to taking useful notes for your life, for your business, for anything you want. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers. This is so much easier than, oh man, I haven't talked to John in a long time. And then you go, that's so weird. Why would I use my dad's name? Just plain old regular pad of pen. Pad of pen. It's amazing. What's a pad of pen? That's gonna be the name of my next product. I've invented the pad of pen.